of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
First, we have our agenda. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions for our agenda? Is there a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved. I'll second that motion.
Take your pick. It's been moved and seconded by
There you go.
Dean and Jean to approve the agenda as presented.
Flip a coin.
Any discussion on that?
Are they gonna
motion?
fight over it?
We're gonna get things done today. Let's vote on the motion then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried. Attached to the minutes, any additions, deletions, corrections, clarifications to the minutes?
I did not, well, I did not see any. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried, minutes approved as well. Payables are attached. Are there any payables you'd like to point out to us, Courtney, or?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board, any of the payables?
A little bit of everything in there.
Yes, there is.
Nothing really big.
I see our warranty extension is in there. I didn't see anything. Looked online.
If there's no questions, I'd make a motion to approve the payables. I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the payables as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, then let's vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, payables approved. Good morning, Rick. You're our first, you're on our agenda now, so we have Region 12 FY18 funding. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning,
Time
Rick.
arrival.
Hi, Rick.
Right on time.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rick. Morning.
Okay, we got your letter.
Merry happy Christmas to you too, huh?
Okay, I think you have our request letter.
Yep.
In here, it is, as I followed the format that I did every other year. The first paragraph discusses the dues, which would be 85 cents per capita in FY 2018. So that would be the 1 penny increase would be an increase of $208.16 for $17,693.60. The next is the public transit request. That has remained level for quite a period of time. I think between the 6 counties, we have not asked for an increase in 20 years for that amount. Don't know that that will be true in 19 and beyond. That'll be something that we'll need to discuss with the board, whether or not, the executive board, whether or not they want to seek an increase in that. But for FY18, that is level at 48 cents per capita, just under $10,000. The capital match, the per mile, 5 cents per mile capital match last year was 5,000 that we had you put in budget. I don't know how much we have billed you in this fiscal year. Tom believes that it will be closer maybe to $2,500. That is a big cut, so I guess maybe that is a piece of good news. I am told by Tom that that is because many of the rides that we were providing, which would have been normally our public service for Carroll County, a lot of seniors and handicapped individuals that are not part of any other contract we do have been moving to Medicaid. And so our Medicaid contracts are covering those individuals rather than the general county service would be. Although that is a big change for only having 3 months, but I think Tom is trying to predict ahead what we're seeing in our service levels currently. Because we try to base this on what happened in FY 16 to give you an idea of what may happen in 18, and that's why he thinks.
So are you gonna be coming, by doing Medicaid, are you getting that 5 cents then through them?
Yes.
Okay, just so you short yourself.
Yes, we are still one of the cheapest per ride systems in the state, and we're probably one of the lower cost transit systems for Medicaid. but
That was just, my point is if you weren't getting it from us, and then you weren't getting it from somebody else, you're not gonna be replacing very many equipment.
Yeah,
I
we're
was just
doing
looking
that.
out for
Yep.
your interest.
No, good question, but we do build that into our rates for them.
Okay.
And we build that into the rate for every contract we have, whether or not it's service with New Hope Village or with the school districts, we build
Okay.
that in.
And however it ends up, it's an estimate anyway.
It is an estimate.
It's not
It's
a
usually
finite amount or
probably within a
specific.
few $100s.
Yeah, I have not looked at that. It's definitely not over.
Yeah, I think you probably have more in the budget this year than we'll use, so. And then the next is the local housing trust fund. That is something that has been $3,000 per year since we started, which was in, I believe, 2003. So it might have been fiscal 2004, might have been the first year the counties put in. We asked $3,000 per county from each county, which you have all very generously provided to the housing trust fund since then. That is $18,000 per year. We were leveraging with some other things that we could do with grants that we received and with some internal funds that we would loan at the COG. We were able to leverage upwards of 400-some thousand. As the state funding has remained level and as new housing trust funds have come online, our funding last year was around $250,000. And without increased state funding, it will probably remain around that amount. They also require us to match that at 25%. And some of the things that we have done in the past, such as loans Region 12 would make, or a grant that we would get from Federal Home Loan Bank, or some of the larger block grants that the cities would receive, if we ever did any housing trust fund money with it, that could always count as match. Not true anymore. It all has to flow through the Council of Governments Housing, our trust fund wing, in order for it to count as match, which means if we get a Federal Home Loan Bank grant, it can't be to Region 12 that does the work. It has to go through Council of Governments Housing and show on their books. So it's becoming more difficult for us to be able to come up with match. We do receive close to $6,000 or $7,000 from financial institutions in the 6 counties that do provide funding. We are, for next fiscal year, writing letters to all of our cities where we have where we think we can at least make a case and that they are at least larger communities, because we're pretty familiar with some of the budgets of our smaller communities probably aren't going to be able to afford a lot. So we are sending requests out to those communities. I expect probably our largest cities will provide something: Carroll, Denison, Panora, Sac City, Jefferson. And we are showing them historically over the course of the last 5 years where we have where it doesn't take us a lot to pull out the records where we've made those investments in their cities, and hope that we'll get a lot of municipalities who will provide some funding. To that end, we have not requested any additional dollars from the counties. I am asking every county for $5,000. We might need to think about, and this might be a COG housing board discussion or something that the executive board might want to discuss, whether or not we move to a per capita, because we tried initially, when we did it, we wanted to spread the money out equally between the 6 counties, so we asked all 6 counties for the same amount of funding. We have shown over time that it is difficult for us to do that, particularly, say, in Audubon County, where it just doesn't have a population. There's 1/3 to 1/4 people live there that live in Carroll County. So we have been trying to equalize that, maximizing as much as we can Audubon, Sac, and a little bit of Green. And I do have, just for your interest, and those of you that are on the policy council would have seen these numbers previously. Anybody else cares? Just as an FYI. So you can be part of the conversation. So what you see on here is on one side is 2010 to 2016, so where it shows Carroll at 334,000. This is just our program year for 2010 through 2016. So I believe it's 6 years total investment. And you see where Audubon is far behind. On the other side, you see what we did in our FY16 program, which is complete. And where we tried to maximize as much as we could the investment in Audubon County. You see very little in Guthrie County, but of course Guthrie County was the big winner for 6 years. A lot of that has to do with applications. A lot of it can do with city-based programs like Guthrie Center of Monora and Stewart that had rehab programs going on. So this is just a point of information. So back to the $5,000, that would be a $2,000 increase. Should all 6 counties do that, that would be $30,000. The match we need to come up with is in the neighborhood of $60,000, $65,000 usually. Our money from the state varies every year because some of it has to do with a fund out of IFA where they receive interest, so it varies somewhat. The legislature also funds, I believe, $3 million out of the RIF fund, maybe, or even real estate transfer tax. They've been putting in $3 million, roughly IFA gets another $3 million, split up between the funds. That's about $250,000 for us, which equals $60,000 to $70,000 in match that we need to come up with. Should the counties put in 30, we would expect that we'd get around the same from our lending institutions, 6,000 or 7,000. We're hoping to get maybe upwards of 10,000 from the communities, but that yet remains to be seen. The balance of that, we are, Region 12 would provide to the trust fund. We have revolving loan funds in-house, but they would need to be transferred out of the COG to the trust fund. But we want to maximize the money that we get from the trust fund. We want to get every penny that we can into the region, and so we'll figure out a way to make that match. All told, the request is not $35,000. As Neil pointed out to me, it's $32,685. So already, it's a $2,500 discount.
Actually,
Yours
it's,
only for the next.
Actually, Rick, in total, it's $2,208 more than last year. Because
It
of.
might be that,
Yes,
but.
yes, it is.
So what is it told, 32?
32,685.
685.28.
Okay.
What happened is that 35,000 includes those 5 cents per mile, so
Yes.
that would be the
Oh.
total, including the 5 cents, which is where that figure came from, so.
Because that is correct. So, and technically, that is, while it's all to Region 12, because Region 12 is the fiscal agent, Council of Governments Housing is a standalone nonprofit organization. The Region 12 controls the trust fund because it has to be in order to be recognized as a trust fund.
But with the $208 increase, the stay the same on the 91, and then the 2,500 reduction, and then an additional 3,000 on the end, the bottom line is.
2,000.
$2,000.
$2,000 increase.
The bottom line is $2,208.16 more
That is correct.
than last year.
Taking out the 5 cent per mile, that is correct.
What has been your reaction from the other counties for this $2,000 increase from?
The only reaction I've had is at the executive board level, where I discussed it with the members there to see whether or not they felt that was reasonable, or it should be more, or it should be less, or it should be the same. And the reaction I got there was they could see why we would be asking for more and go ahead and ask the counties for it. So nobody at least told me that I was nuts. You were the first county I've talked to, though.
Okay, so it would be fair for us to say, if we came back, and this isn't said, yeah, we'll approve that contingent, the other counties approving it as well, that would be reasonable.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions for Rick? And thanks over the weekend or on your day off for looking that up for me, Rick. Appreciate that.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you for giving me the heads up. I noticed when I went in this morning and looked, and I had Audubon County's letter right, because every year, you're right, I do it exclusive of the 5 cents. All the other counties are the same, so I'll be able to give them a discount too when I want.
Great. Good deal.
You had that planned, didn't you?
I Yeah, sure. I did have that plan. That
Called-
wasn't a mistake at all. It
Called
was-
reverse psychology.
I'm still arguing with you. It's $2,000 more and you're calling it a discount.
Discount, yes.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
You
all
have a better
marketing.
way of explaining things
That's
or
pretty
something.
slick.
I don't know.
It's all the marketing.
Car dealer math.
Our dealer math.
You could be telling them how to legally steal, you know.
And I had this same, the other question didn't get answered this morning, but I was kind of curious as to how the mileage thing was actually paid out or playing out so far this year, but Tom's maintains it's been substantially less on that
Yeah.
5 cents.
Yes,
Yeah,
and you
okay.
are, it was a large decrease for you. The largest was in Carroll. The other counties all had some sort of a decrease, and in some counties, it's not very much
Yeah.
to begin with. And so I was surprised too. He said it's that we're just not experiencing the general public rides here because a lot of, I think, those that we were providing those rides are now on Medicare or Medicaid, excuse me.
Does the multiple cab services offset some of that as well?
You know, we participate in that, so any of the seniors or persons with disabilities that receive cab rides in town get the discounted tickets from the city. That there's also, while the city is providing some funding to that, we also provide some funding to help reduce the cost of that. So we have not historically done a lot of in-town service unless it might be from a facility out to a grocery store, or if they need wheelchair assistance. You know, we do all the wheelchair assistance in town.
Do you see, are you doing more for
Uber.
the small communities?
Uber.
Bring them into Carroll and back out?
We are not doing as
Driverless
much.
ones they banned in California.
It is
Yeah.
expensive for us to provide service from a community into town, just because we have that per mile charge, which is $1.30 per mile, so that can be an expensive trip. We do a degree of that, not a lot of public pay. There is some. Most of what we're doing there is gonna be covered under a different contract, or say maybe Medicaid. Now, one thing that I heard that I have not seen anywhere since, and no one seems to know where it came from, is an article in Cedar Rapids Gazette that it was, I believe the director of Medicaid services for the state of Iowa said they are not gonna cover the non-medical trips anymore. So there are certainly Medicaid trips that are doctor's appointments, and then there are the non-medical trips like grocery store. And if they don't cover that transportation, I don't know how those people are going to get places. I mean, it's gonna be relying either if they can double up on a medical trip, or relying on neighbors, or relying on us, which means you, to provide, to pay back the cost of that service. Now, I haven't seen it anywhere else. I asked Senator Segavart about it, and he was gonna check into whether or not that was actually true, but that would be a big change for July 1st, and I think that that may have an impact on rural areas in particular, because that really will make it harder for very poor people to live in a lot of our communities if there isn't a grocery store in it. Now, in Carroll, we're pretty lucky that we have 4 communities that still have a grocery store, but some of the other counties not so much. And still, if you were living in Lanesboro, having a grocery store 10 miles away is, might as well be 100 miles away or something. So, anyway, that's potentially on the horizon, and maybe something that we'll have to have a discussion as to how we provide transportation. And we have had some interest from time to time to run like grocery routes in other communities. They will do that. They'll have a per fee. You pay $10, you jump on the bus, we'll take you into town to the grocery store, or we'll take you to Walmart, and we'll pick everybody up at 10, we'll come back at 3 o'clock or back at 2 o'clock, and there may be some interest in that. We've talked with a few communities about that, but none of it has stuck so far, because it is an expense that somebody's gonna have to bear.
Maybe they, in some cases, could combine their grocery and their pharmacy stop on the same trip.
Yes.
Hy-Vee could be in the same building.
Yeah, absolutely.
They get
And
their-
Walmart, and you have
Walmart,
Kmart.
Kmart, sure,
But I'm
groceries.
not familiar enough with, I'm familiar enough with regulations to know that some wonk sitting somewhere in a windowless cubicle would find a problem with that, and that, no, that should only be a medical trip, and that it can't combine with anything else. But it makes total sense
Okay.
that we would try to find some savings and
Come on.
be
Yeah.
able to do that.
Okay. Rick, thanks for meeting us. Do we have any other questions for Rick, or do you have anything else you want to add to this? You've done so well.
I don't. If you, obviously, anytime you have questions, you know how to get hold of me. Let me know and we'll do the research and get you
Yeah.
an answer.
Thanks again for responding over the weekend.
Yep.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Rick, are you thinking about going to Audubon today for news?
Yes.
Give you a call. Maybe right on you.
Kathy and I and maybe Chris are gonna be out.
Okay. I'll give you a call.
Okay.
They're out here in the hallway.
Tom is here.
I think they're all here.
Is everybody here for the conservation?
John and Tom and Roger are all here.
Hi, Thomas.
Morning, guys.
Gentlemen?
John, Roger.
John, Roger. Hi.
Roger.
Create some more chairs, one folder.
Hope your folders are big. Information. Anyway, I guess we come here for our annual meeting with you guys again. And I suppose the first thing we want to do is, we're probably gonna ask for the same kind of money we did last year, which was 5,000, so we can kind of go from there. But what we got and what we're gonna talk about is things that we accomplished this year. This year, we were number one in the state as far as bringing EQIP money into the Carroll County area, which would amounted to $1.2 million. So that's a pretty sizable amount of money that we got brought in Carroll County. Most of them things were done through water quality problems, some poop barns, a lot of EQIP on cover crops, things like that. So, the problem is with EQIP, we really can't tell or even know where that money is going, because it's kind of a state deal. But, you know, this is things that the Carroll County Soil and Water Conservation had things to do with, so.
Does our large concentration of livestock help that program out in this county?
I'm sure it does, Neil, yeah. And, you know, this is a lot of it done through water quality and stuff like that too, so.
Okay.
And a few years ago, what we did, Carroll County was taken, you know, if you got a large request for money coming out of the, you know, like for hoop barns or something like that, we took that out of our county funds. So a few years ago, what we decided to do is that we could throw them large requests into the state pool and try and pull it out of state money, and that's what we did. And so, you know, what we did, you know, by them projects, they must have been ranking pretty high to get them approved out of the state of Iowa, so. So I think we feel pretty good about what we accomplished on that program. So, like I said, you know, I think two of the projects are probably going already as far as structures and stuff like that, and then I think one will probably be going next spring. But, you know, also a lot of that money went towards cover crops, terraces, waterways and stuff like that, so. So that's one thing we felt pretty good about doing as far as Carroll County. We also been continuing our water sampling program. So if you guys wanna take a copy of that, that's kind of a draft. Let me have one change to it, please. Thank you. And these are the figures if you need them. They can kind of coincide with the dates that we got there, so. What we did on the water sampling, if you look at the graph part, in our Storm Creek area, which is between Glidden and Carroll, that goes up to the northwest, we always found a problem in that creek. So in February, we decided to try and get a better point of where the problem was. And that, I mean, we don't know for sure where it's still at, but we found, and that would be the green graph, the green letter, where you can see that's been pretty high. Do you have a color graph there, Neil?
Yes.
The green one. So then, what we did in July, if you look at the purple, we went way up toward the top of Storm Creek to see what we had going on at the headwaters of Storm Creek. Now that stayed pretty consistently low, so somewhere between the purple and the green is where we seem to have a problem. But when we initially got into this program, we did not want to get in there into the point where we were gonna start pointing fingers or anything like that, so that's, you know, kind of give you an idea of where a problem possibly is between the purple and the green. And if you look on, the acceptable level of nitrates in the water is right at 10. So, you know, anything above that is a problem, anything below, you know, you're fairly close to being okay. And what we got here in July, where you can see the graphs is going down fairly low. Now that's where we got into dry weather and probably a record corn crop. So what we're thinking is a lot of that nitrate was being pulled out by the corn crop and stuff like that. And then, you know, with the low amount of rain that we're getting, it wasn't getting into the tile line. So that's why we think it dropped there in July. But now, we've been doing this program for about 2 years, and we're to the point, what do we do with this information? You know, do we want to start trying to pinpoint these problems, or what? So I guess, you know, what we're coming here for is if you guys got any ideas on what we should be doing with this information, it would be appreciated, because we don't know what to do. I mean, you know, we're to the point where, do we keep doing this, or do we just walk away from it? You know, we feel like we got a problem in Carroll County, and we don't want to give up what we've already accomplished. So our next step is what? I guess is what we're asking. So, you know, I guess, you know, you guys know just as good as we do, Carroll County could have just well been thrown in this whole mix too. You know, as just as much as Calhoun, Buena Vista, and the other counties, so.
You know, when looking at this, Tom, just looking at, you know, you look at Storm Creek on 190th, and then you took Storm Creek at 150th, and then you look at the middle of Raccoon, because that all flows into the middle Raccoon. It's amazing to see how much that drops off. I mean, in every one of these, it about drops in half by the time it gets down there.
And, you know, a lot of that is probably by diluting.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
just a natural process.
Tom, you mentioned the word, a moment ago, you used the word pinpoint. Can you describe what you mean by that? Can you speak openly about that, or?
Yeah, pinpointing is, you know, if we want to go out and check a specific tile line, you know, coming out of a potential problem area, you know, like whether it be a livestock producer or what, you know, if we want to just take that tile line and sample that tile line to see what's coming out of that tile line, that's pinpointing. Now, what we're doing here is just kind of a general consensus of what's going on in these certain watersheds. Like that.
Or you could do that by a mile above and a mile below, not necessarily.
That's what I was gonna say, you're better off doing it in segments.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't
Kinda
get
what I
into
was
tile
wondering.
lines, I don't think.
Yeah.
So yeah, we wouldn't do that, I don't think.
That's being pretty specific.
And these samples are all taken from the same points.
Yes.
I mean, you always use the same points.
And I think our original intentions were to do it for at least 3 years. Because environmentally and everything else, you got a lot of things going on, rainfall, crops,
Sure.
and things. do it 3 years, not try to make too many opinions of it, and just see if there's trend lines doing one thing or the other, so.
How many years have you done it now?
Maybe right at 2 years, I think. So,
What kind of structures have you put in with that money that you received?
a lot of the structures are going into livestock facilities, you know, whether it be a hoop barn, monoflow building, or lagoons, or, you know, anything to keep the nutrients out of the soil.
So you aren't doing anything like saturated buffers or anything like that, or?
We're starting to get into that now, yeah. Looking at that program, trying to get a few more bioreactors in and stuff like that if we can, and saturated buffers and more filter strips. Just anything we can do to try and keep the, you know, nutrients on the ground instead of in the creeks, basically.
Have you talked to the Iowa Soybean Association or the Iowa Corn Growers about?
We've talked to them a couple times, at their meetings, basically
Mhm.
saying, this is what we're doing. Also, the Black Hawk, the watershed at Elton.
Sure.
We've talked to them, and we just gotta get the information and maybe even work with the North Raccoon watershed thing, because they're gonna have a full-time person. We don't know how that's gonna work out, but even if we get some expertise and some advice, and I'm not quoting this, but I think Bill Sack at one time said that on the saturated buffers and the bioreactors, the feds are gonna be funding 90% of those. I think that's what they're, so I think that's the kind of the direction they wanna go on this. And I think Carroll County is probably one of the top livestock, both swine and cattle. I think it's in the top 3 with Lyon County. So we need the livestock, and we want the livestock, is to start at some point getting proactive of, okay, you know, instead of doing something bad, let's see what we can do to help. And if that's funding or expertise or anything with some of these people, that's probably the route to go.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I know that Elk Run watershed, they've stuck a lot of money into that.
Mhm.
And if you could get involved with them in any way.
Yeah. And I think we was at the meeting up in Breda that time with
Mhm.
was it Denise or Diane or?
Diane Ersey.
Yeah.
Diane, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
See, right now, we just don't have the inside expertise or the money to hire. I mean, you really need somebody on board to be writing grants and to be doing some of that technical stuff.
Sure.
You know, I think I don't want to say we played out the meetings, but right now, I think it's a matter of taking other people's information and putting it out a newsletter and getting in front of people, saying, okay, this is what we need to do. And at some point saying, you know, we need to accept where we're at and what we can do. That's not forcing anybody, but you know, you turn around with the hoop barns on the cattle and stuff. I think the people that have them, it's made up money, you know, and so I think if we can get that information out, it's good.
And I think also CRP, if I read in the farm magazine here just lately, I think they're gonna open up more acres again. So if that's a possibility, you know, we can work on, you know, projects like that too. You know, try and get some critical areas put in CRP, whether it be a wetland or whatever it is. But I think I read that someplace, and I haven't heard that for sure, but, you know, if that's the case, because our cap was pretty well reached as far as CRP acres. And I think I read that, you know, they was gonna raise the cap, so, which would be a good thing.
I think it depends upon the administration right now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
subject to change.
Yeah.
You know, but as of right now, I think that's probably a plan. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at with the water sampling program and stuff like that. And, this is our annual report. Kind of things that the county's done over the last year and stuff like that too, so. What we want to do.
This is what we already have.
We already have
We have the annual
You
report.
got that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, good.
Rich could use one.
You got the same thing?
We could have saved the tree there. What we want to do is, we've been printing our annual report and into a bulletin, you know, what's going on in the county. Now, I don't know if you got a copy of that, Courtney?
I did,
Okay, that's fine, whatever. But it's just a month, or, what we've been doing is every year, we've been printing a bulletin, what we call it. And what we did, this year will be in there, and then, you know, all of our award winners and stuff like that, what we've been doing and who we've been giving awards to and stuff like that. So we want to try and get into that earlier this year and possibly running that twice a year, because we've been getting some pretty good feedback of what's going on in the county as far as soil conservation. So we want to try and possibly print 2 of them this year and see how that's going to work. So that's another goal that we want to get accomplished on that end of it. And in February, every 3 years, we take all of our award winners and we have a little social banquet and stuff like that, showing appreciation, you know, to the people in the county, the award winners, and what they've been doing, and, you know, what we accomplished and stuff like that. So this will be held in February. So we want to do that too this year.
And we've done pretty well at the state level for environmental farmer. Windbreak's really big time as far as award winners. So I think Carroll County, even from reputation, the people that have done that job, not us necessarily, but have actually drawn quite a bit of positive things to Carroll. So.
Mhm. So I probably should introduce Roger Slater is our vice chair, and John Coster, he's our, well, I think he just got on this year, didn't you, John?
I started earlier
Yeah.
this year, but
Okay.
newly re-elected, I guess.
Mhm. So he got reelected, so he'll be on our board. And Roger decided to step aside. So Steve Reinhardt got elected on this year, so. And I'm sure most of you guys know Steve Reinhardt.
Mhm. Yep.
He's been a pretty good advocate of soil conservation for many, many years, so it'd be nice to have him. He was on the board years ago, so.
We're gonna miss you, Roger.
I'm gonna stay on as assistant,
Okay.
so I'm gonna be active. I mean,
Good.
I'll be at all the meetings, so
Mhm.
just won't get a vote.
Well, Neil and I have been going to the WMA meetings, you know, and that's been interesting, and I think that we're gonna try to how do you wanna say, give a rebirth to the Middle Raccoon Watershed Management Authority. Got some interest from the Panora area in Guthrie County as well, too. And I sent some information to one of the supervisors there.
At the meeting, when they talked about dropping that, and it sounded like that became a Des Moines thing, and, I mean, that whole thing kinda just fell apart.
Yeah, that wasn't a good thing. The
No,
difference.
It wasn't.
The big difference now, like the North Raccoon, is they've got some money to work with.
They got committed money.
Yeah.
Three
The
point
middle
two.
did not. Yeah,
3.2
and so
million.
does Nishnabad.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got like 7 million.
And I can't believe they did the north and left the middle out of it. That, to me, just doesn't make a lot of sense, but,
Well, they formed those,
yeah.
you know, and we were already formed and not doing anything.
Yeah.
We weren't active. I think that was probably the biggest problem, is that we weren't active. So I guess by becoming active again, you know, hopefully if there's any more money coming down the pipe, that we can probably qualify for some of that. I guess that's the goal, I think.
So are the supervisors thinking of participating in the north?
Yes. I think we're gonna
Okay.
participate probably in both of them.
The thing with the North is they've already know which projects they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which don't involve Carroll County, but
Yeah.
they want to make sure they get started off quick and a meaningful project, and they've got some identified. And although they don't identify us or aren't happening in Carroll County, something could come to us in the future, so we're just gonna kind of play along.
Yeah, the thing I got out of the meeting, Neil, is maybe we can copy some of the things they're doing, you know, if they're doing, and it sounded like we could actually take a little bit advantage of their grant writer. I mean, as time, that's kind of what they implied, I thought.
I've been working with a supervisor from Guthrie County, Everett Grasty, and he's working with Lake Panorama. He lives in the Panora area, and they may have someone there who would be interested in doing that grant writing. And so I forwarded all the information from the North Raccoon for him to look at. He was quite interested in getting that, so I have mailed that to him.
I think that's all good, though. If we could get back in that would be really good.
And Clint probably knows this too, but we have access to all the geological data that's been collected by the Iowa Flood Center. So, I mean,
can kind of tell you where all the risk points are in Carroll County. And I talked to Larry Weber at the Nishnabantna Watershed Management Authority meeting down there, and he's willing to come up and talk to us sometime about that. So I think that'll be a good thing. Sometime after the, sometime after the first of the year.
Mhm.
So,
You know, I think we all realize that water quality is gonna be a really important part of the plan or goal or whatever, over the next how many years, so, you know, whatever we can do to try and get a head start on it, I think that's what we need to look at, so.
On the Hungry Canyon side, that's gonna be interesting. I mean, their funding this year is gonna be level, but after that, it's gonna be interesting to see where that goes too. But that's something we're gonna have to keep in contact with our legislators and keep pushing there too.
Yeah, Hunger Canyon, you know, that money's available for the county too, and, you know, I know we've done things for the county over the years, so don't be scared to use that money if there's something you can do with it, you know, it's there.
Dave and I have talked about some things.
Canyon's quite a bit.
Yeah. So, and keep using it, you know, whatever we can do there.
So was Sac County correct when they said that they had to join the North Raccoon watershed for FEMA and for aid? I just saw that comment, the supervisors.
they had to join
Well,
the,
they made it sound like they needed to join, this is just a question personally, they needed to join to guarantee that they would not be excluded in case there was a flood for FEMA and stuff like that for aid. I know I saw that in some,
well, I think that's a pretty general comment for all counties.
okay, that's my
Yeah.
question, that's what I,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're not
That's
down
my
below,
question.
you're not gonna be able to get in.
Yeah.
You won't get the funding.
Yeah, you won't get the funding.
Yeah.
Okay, you got any more questions? If not, you know, whatever we can do, or whatever you can do for us, I mean, you know, let's try and work on projects together if we can, so.
So the amount you're asking is basically the same. Is there any difference in how you intend on using it this year?
And just, you know, if we kind of get into maybe printing a second newsletter, we maybe might be asking for a little help on that and stuff like that, so.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's, you know, water sampling, different things like that, so.
I think the people that we have doing the newsletter, I mean, I've got positive feedback, you know, it's something that's actually professionally done. I just get comments from people that read it. So I think other than the part that somebody seeing their name or recognition, I think actually people are looking at it. So if we can get one more newsletter out there with more information as far as cover crops, as far as water quality, where we actually do those blurbs and we do those repetitively over a couple of years, I think it'll help.
And that's even, you know, like the board of supervisors have a little article they'd like to put in there. You know, don't be afraid to do that. You know, that's what it's for, information.
Okay.
Anything to do with water quality and stuff like that, so.
And we did try to get an article for the Farm Bureau paper. We thought that that would be a good venue, but that's never,
Never did get in
they
there.
never did put it in there.
Mhm.
And I'm nothing against them, but if, we will do the articles if we got the place to put it where people are gonna read it. And we thought that would be a good place because just about everybody reads the local news in the
Section of the Farm Bureau,
paper.
yeah.
Okay, so,
All right, thanks, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
guys.
Appreciate
Happy
it.
New Year to you.
Yeah, you too.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Take care of yourself.
Yep.
Thanks for letting us come.
Thanks, Roger, Tom, John.
Outside.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much. Yep, I'll be seeing you around.
Okay, sure.
That's a threat, right?
Yeah. Bye now.
Good to see you, Tom. Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Okay, Rita Daycare. Next on our agenda. Good morning.
Good morning, Kristen.
I'm Kristen Young, Director of the Breda Daycare Center. I've been director for 5 years, and I was an employee for 1 year prior to that. We're a nonprofit organization. We serve the Breda and Carroll area for the past 26 years. Our mission of the daycare center is to provide children with happy, social group play together with a variety of learning experiences, allowing each child to develop individually in areas of social, intellectual, emotional, and physical development. We plan a variety program of creative arts, music, cooking, science, games, dramatic play, field trips, visitors, and more. We currently serve 18 families from Carroll County and have 23 children. We serve children from ages 2 weeks to 10 years of age. We have 4-person volunteer board members, 4 full-time staff, and 3 part-time staff. We have a waiting list of 2 infants in the spring of 2017, and we currently have openings in our other 2 classrooms. During the summer months, we make arrangements to take the children to the swimming pool in the park. We provide the service of bringing the kids to the swimming lessons for 2 weeks. We have an after-school and before-school program, and we've just recently started our library program that connected through the Carroll Library. Diane comes to us about twice a month and reads to our kids for an hour, and she brings us about 60 library books every 2 weeks. Our updates for 2016, we just purchased new kitchen supplies. We have purchased new chairs for our infant rooms. We're in the process of purchasing iPads for our creative curriculum learning program. And we've also repainted, we have new windows in our doors, and we've purchased new shelving. Some of the biggest challenges this year we face at the center is additional expenses such as fingerprinting, criminal record checks, and licensing fees. And we also have new 12-hour classes for all of our staff required by DHS, new emergency procedures this year, and kits for every room. We plan to use the money we would receive for grants to remove the fireplace in the toddler room and the preschool room, replace it with a reading nook and built-in storage that we very lack in our building. If we would not receive grant money at this time, we would have to put a halt to our current projects until funding would become available. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today on behalf of the Breda Daycare Center.
Okay. Thank you for your explanation. Do we have any questions here?
And your request is for 7,000?
Yes.
And what was it last year?
6,000.
6,000?
Yes. Have you got estimates on doing this work?
We did, yes,
Okay.
and it was 7,000. Quite a big project.
What does that all include, that project?
We have a built-in brick fireplace
Yeah.
in the toddler rooms, and then it protrudes into the other room through the back. So removing all of that, the other side, going up to the roof, replacing that
Okay,
part.
just taking it out totally.
Yes. Right now, we have it covered up with actually like patio furniture, so it's soft, so kids don't hit it with their heads or anything.
Sure.
But our center was a house before.
Yeah, I know where it's at.
Okay. So the request was 6, and now this year it's 7,000, and it's to remove the fireplace and replace it with a reading nook type thing. Okay.
And you have, Kristen, you have 32? How
We
many?
can hold 32 children, yes.
Yeah, so how many do you have right now?
We currently have 23.
Okay.
Well, you currently have 23? I thought you just said you had served 18 families and 32.
We have 18 families, we have 23 children. We can hold 32 children
Okay,
total.
I got it back.
And you have a wait list just for the infants.
Just for infants,
Yep.
correct.
It's hard to find them.
So you got room for more, but not more infants right now?
Not more infants, no.
Sure, sure. Okay.
Just 2 years old and up.
Well, I know you provide a very good service
Thank you.
for the community of Breda, and I'm sure the whole community appreciates that. So, you do a very good job.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, that whole regimen of data and requirements you have to make anymore is
Complex.
getting a little ridiculous.
Yep.
I
I even
agree.
have to clean the ink off once in a while.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions for the Breda Daycare Center in regards to the request or anything? Okay, any questions for us or anything?
No.
Okay, well, we'll be reviewing these after the first of the year. and
Okay,
making
thank you so
recommendations.
much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Kristen.
Thanks,
Happy
Kristen.
New Year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At 10 o'clock, we'll have a public hearing. So let's go to number 7, which is the courthouse lighting
update, discussion with Yellow Blue, that type of thing.
Aren't they coming up for that?
Are
They'll
they-
actually be here for that.
They'll be here for that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll hear from them then. And Terry's coming in from Mid-Iowa.
Yes.
That gets to number 9.
Do you want to do 6?
6.
No, we have.
No,
to-
we
gotta
gotta, oh,
do
we gotta
the
do that
public
first.
hearing.
No,
Public hearing.
there's
first.
actually two.
All right, there's 2 of them in there.
Yeah.
We have an appropriation
All right.
resolution. for
There's
the
2 of those.
amendment.
Let's handle them both after number 5, even though only one of them applies to it, so
there's
just
2,
keep
yeah.
our conversation together there. Let's go to number 9, which is a county home discussion, and I'll start the discussion. I think things have changed. Friday, we had received no RFPs, and since then, I think we've had, that news has stimulated some interest, and we've shown it to some more people. I know Marty had a showing. Gene and I showed some people through, and tomorrow morning, another person, 2 more people want to go through together tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So we've got some renewed interest, and so I think that will affect our discussion. Just to start the discussion, I think the RFP, I don't know why it didn't go over. I think some people thought, well,
Nothing's gonna happen?
somebody might come in sky high, so why should I do all this work? And now, I think they've sensed that there could be an opportunity here, and some people want to get that opportunity. It could be an opportunity to obtain a very structurally sound, unique building at a reasonable cost. And so we need to decide this ahead of time. And just opening up discussion, I've got 2 things I want to suggest, and I've not discussed these with anybody. First of all is, I think we should visit our county attorney to see what our options are for striking a deal with someone, because it has to be fair to the public. And secondly, I think a lot of our discussion, if we talk about any specific entity, can and should be in closed session.
It's real estate.
Because it's real estate. We
Mhm.
certainly have the ability to do that, and it's to our advantage to do that, both from a business point of view, which is why that procedure's there, and I think also any of the interested parties would appreciate that. So those are just 2 things that I just want to bring up for discussion is, I think, for example, Marty gave a showing the other day, and I have no idea who it was. Nobody does. I don't know how interested they are, but they kind of want it to remain anonymous, and that's fine. But at some point, we're going to have to talk about this if they come up with a suggestion. I think by all means, we should do that in closed session. So those are just a couple of thoughts.
I agree with everything you've said so far, Neil. I think it needs to be kept kind of confidential, because I think that's one of, like, when you made that comment, people don't like the idea, everything is so open face in public. But I also think you're right, we need to talk to our attorney on what our steps are if and when we do get something accomplished, whether it be we strike a deal or show it, and if we've got multitude of interest, then we may have to be looking at a hearing or
Seal bids, maybe.
auction. And
Yeah, I was gonna say, at some point, if you have multiple offers, you're gonna have to deal with that, you know, through the.
That's a
public.
problem we're hoping for, isn't it, Dean?
Yes,
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
And I'll, I don't know if you guys read the Coon paper, but Guthrie County just got rid of theirs.
And I'm aware of another entity that is kind of interested in looking at it after the first of the year too, so.
I guess possibility this weekend to look at somebody looking at it again. Another entity.
You said Guthrie County just got rid of theirs?
So,
But I think they turned it into, that person was gonna turn it into an assisted living facility for the
Mhm.
county.
Which would be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if you got something that's gonna benefit the county.
Yeah, put it back
you
on the
can
tax
You
rolls.
can kind of look the other way better than
Sure.
tearing it down.
Yep, absolutely.
okay, where do we go from here, gentlemen?
I guess the other thing, after going through it on Saturday, I think the other thing we need to look at is the time frame for that thing to be cleaned out. There is a lot of work there, guys, to be done yet.
Both, a lot has been done and there's lots to do.
There's a lot to go yet, and that's something we need to kind of think about too.
In regards to, after the Thursday, I think it was Thursday, I visited, it was in the courthouse, maybe it was Wednesday, but anyhow, I visited with Zach, I asked Zach, I said, Zach, have you and Courtney been talking about things? He says, yes, we have. And then I says, have you talked to Steve Dyker? And he go, here walks Steve Dyker. I wasn't even done saying his name, and he showed up right there. And he had a list of things that, hey, Zach, here's what you need to know about the place, here's some keys, here's this, here's that. And I kind of, him and so Steve and Zach have gone over it. Zach has the keys. It's got his phone number and all that other information, and he intends on checking it out, going through it every once in a while when it's empty and that type of thing.
One thing I think I learned the other day when we was out there, the other day when we showed it, I think the license on the elevator is good till March, same time as this one is. I didn't do them together. Our understanding, the conversation was brought up, I think it was by Steve, that license is to be grandfathered as long as that license kept up to date, or kept renewed. So I would think it'd be in our best interest if we haven't anything done by March, if we're still looking at options, that we go out and make sure that thing is.
Just continue.
Yeah.
Because once you lose that grandfather clause,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that could really be.
Then that
detrimental.
change your requirements on.
Yeah. So I think whenever they do it, you might want to make them know that they do it here, they do it out there, if that's agreeable with the rest of them. I think.
It's
that's-
the same people doing it.
Yeah.
Is that is that a big item? Is that a dollar wise? Is that do you know, Courtney?
I don't know what they pay. We pay for a maintenance on ours contract, and then of course we pay the state to come in and inspect.
Inspect it, yeah. And that's what we'll be doing, is inspecting
Yeah, I don't know that,
the cost on
And just a small thing related to that, I just want to relate, there's some discussion on whether it was rural or city water. It is city water out there, it's not rural water. Rural water's across the road. If they need to, if a new person will want to hook onto it, that's good to know, but it's on city water at this point.
And in city sewer.
And septic, yeah.
that. So, Sherry and Stacy there have all their stuff out now. Is that correct? Or are they still moving?
There's still a lot of stuff in there, yeah.
Still, okay, they're still moving their stuff out.
It was in progress. On the day I was out there, they had a big dumpster and somebody
I
grabbed it.
actually think the people that were, other ones that were in there were just going through and see what they could utilize out of that, in those different rooms. There's kind of a scavenger, I think.
Yeah, that's good.
The rooms are pretty well cleared out, but it's just the basement, the storage areas, and there's a lot of stuff in the kitchen yet.
Is there anything that the county has out there that's ours that we need to keep?
There, like the washer and dryer and the kitchen equipment.
So do we have to, if there's scavengers out there, do we need to watch that?
No, they're making, they know.
Making
what-
sure that.
They know
yeah.
what stays, yes.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. One question I have, should we have them, and I don't know, it just kind of disturbed me that those registers were all loose. Shouldn't they be replaced before they vacate?
I don't know if this relates to that. Steve said after he gets each room empty, he's just gonna spray it with insecticide and put like mouse bait out. And I don't know if that's part of that process or not. I don't know why
Oh, you
those.
mean that's why they maybe had those off?
I think so, and I didn't
Okay,
specifically
that
ask
could
that.
be.
I just think that may have
Well,
something to do
And I
with
think the other
it.
thing too is they need to make sure all that, because when we went through, there's different areas had some food laying around, and that's, needs to be
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like I say, they're still working on it, so I don't want to say too much.
When people are being shown it, one question is, well, what's your timeline? What is our timeline, gentlemen? I assume we have a lot of flexibility, but at some point we need to wrap it up,
I would say by the time we get going through the county attorney, if we use that avenue, that's gonna take some time in January. It's not gonna happen this week. I don't know, maybe middle of January, February 1st, or what do you guys
First of
thought?
March. I would,
Timeline to do what? You think
Do-
pull the trigger and then knock it down?
Well, no, I'm
No.
just
Make a
saying to
decision?
for
make a
people
decision.
who are interested, when do we
people
tell
who are-
them to
yeah.
give us their
Their bids or
best
whatever.
offer, whatever they have?
Yeah.
Why not, isn't time of the essence? I mean,
I think so.
Somebody might not want to show their cards because they're worried about maybe somebody else or something, but I would urge you guys to really believe that time is of the essence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, we talked about it last week, and maybe we don't have to make a decision today or wait till the new board comes in, but, you know, I think that if, we know what we've got if we have no suitors, okay? And we got a building that's gonna deteriorate, maybe not overnight, but certainly this year, or in 17. And, yeah, I think you have a worth, a valuable piece of acreage there. No one wants to raise the building, I mean, it's too good of a building to do that, but again, at the same time, you've got a valuable piece of property there if it's empty, if it's bare. And I would encourage you to act on it quickly, or soon.
Yeah, I don't think I want to drag it out.
Oh, I don't either.
No, I don't want to
First
drag it
of
out.
March, I don't know
That's
if
kinda
that's
what
I'd like
soon
to see
enough.
possession, whoever buys it, if somebody buys it, possession
First
by
of
the
March.
first of
Yeah.
March.
And this will require, whatever you decide to do, if you sell it, or change possession of it, it'll require a public hearing.
But you know, Marty, that might be hard to do that too if it's an organization, let's say some 501(c)(3) or nonprofit
Yeah.
that's going out, starting a new program. By the time they get their funds
Funding,
raised,
yeah.
get things in place.
Yeah.
And I think we have to listen to that.
Yeah.
If we have something like that, maybe did kind of adjust a little bit. But,
Oh,
It'd be
yeah,
nice to have some type of commitment
Yeah.
by,
Yeah.
say, the 1st or 15th of February, you
Yeah.
know, something like that. Is that kind of what
Yeah,
you're thinking
mhm,
about?
Yeah, and,
If I can chime in, I think I would really prefer that there be some type of, by the 15th of January or by the end of January. And if we get a commitment, then we can worry about moving that possession date out if it's an organization like Gene's talking about.
Yeah.
Or if it's a private individual, we can just
Work
go through
around
the
it.
bidding process and get it over with
Right.
fairly quickly. But the utility bills mount up each month and things continue that I would be real interested in getting off.
And the time is a little bit
I think we're all on the same
sensitive. I
page.
don't want, for example, January 15th is mentioned. I think that is way too fast. I don't know if an investor could get all their stuff decided by then. They may just say, hey, the time, I don't want the time to be short that, hey, I was interested, but
Right.
that was just pushing it there. Well, I'm like, I tell you what,
I don't want to
contractors are
scare
busy.
anybody away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contractors are busy right now, and I just try and get a simple heater put in a building, and they go, well, I'll give you a bid on it, but I can't do it for a while. They're busy.
Sure.
They basically says, if you want it tomorrow, forget me, but I can do it with time. So they're busy. And so time is of essence to a certain point, but it's also important to the investor that they have enough time to do their homework. So maybe we should visit with John next week and ask him what our legal process is as far as making a deal with someone and being, what we can do in closed session and what final decisions need to be done in open session and how to be fair to the bidders and the people of the county.
And if we got somebody serious, I think, you know, if they want to run with it, let's get with the program. Then if somebody can't come up with it, that's fine. But it, you know, and I agree with you, January 15th is probably too close. There's some of these outfits that maybe might have multiple partners, and to get that all put together, and I'm like you, I don't want to scare anybody away.
Yeah.
we're, go ahead, no, you go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, I looked up the rules before we did the RFP, and that's what I went and looked for, I can't find my folder, but there's publication requirements and everything.
Yeah,
and
that's
Right,
2
that's
weeks.
what I brought up when you were-
John is a great,
Yeah.
great asset to use for that.
We're bumping up, we're past 10 o'clock, but I just want to, does it have any value to the board that we have a unified answer? Many of you that's been approached, you've been asked the question, haven't you?
Yeah.
So shouldn't we have a unified answer to that question?
Deadline to mark the date?
Deadline and what's it gonna take? I've had two different entities ask me, what's it gonna take?
I don't have any idea what it's gonna take.
I don't either, but we should have some kind of unified
I would say
answer.
the best proposal,
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so then there would be a deadline or a supposed,
because that proposal might make a difference if that's a private entity that wants to give very little for it and use it for personal effects versus some organization that comes in the county and maybe is gonna not give us very much and become a asset to the community or provide more services to the community. Then I have no problem with maybe not getting near as much for it.
I agree. I think my asking price is flexible depending on what the usage would be.
Yep. I'd
But
say
I
that
do
the-
think we need to have a, I'll call it a drop dead date, because I don't want to put in a submit, or somebody wouldn't want to put in a proposal for everybody to see and then have somebody up them by a buck, you know, or we have to have a definite date. And I think we should decide that after we visit with John, and hopefully
Okay.
next meeting, try to get him on the agenda. Does that sound fair?
yeah. Let's say in a best-case scenario, someone walks into us this afternoon and says, here's X. I mean, and it sounds pretty good to most of us. We've got to be flexible enough to consider that upon those terms, right?
If it's what we think is a very good offer and something benefit, I think then we go through the process of
Okay.
public hearing, and that's when, if there's someone out there who's gonna say, hey, I mean, there's, in times, we've had an auction with the, when Western Island Networks, didn't it?
Yes, we did. We auctioned that off.
You know, I think anybody, Mark, is gonna have to understand that. You know, we're a
It's
government,
public- it's
we're a
public
government,
property. We
yeah,
have
we're a
to give it
government
the best-
entity and.
Best value. It may
And-
not be in dollars, but it's gotta be the best value that we assume is the best value for the community.
Yeah.
And when I say community, I mean the county.
Right.
Just in general terms, I would feel comfortable in telling somebody that we would certainly have something taken care of in the next couple of months, probably, is kind of our thought
Yes.
right now.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
would say we're looking at, I would think
Yeah.
that March 1st would be a good idea, Dave.
You know, and the thing about it is that we're definitely working as quickly as we can on this, because we don't want to hold it any longer than we have to anyway, so.
All right. Why don't we, let's try to get John in here for our next meeting to discuss what he thinks it is, and he'll have a week to think about it before he comes in, so, okay?
Okay.
All right, very good. All right. Then, at 10 o'clock, we have a public hearing here for the county budget amendment. So Courtney? Oh, it is like 10:08. 10:08, I'll open the public hearing for the FY17 county budget amendment.
Okay, we went over this before, there's been no changes, so I'll go over it again here, real briefly.
For me, should be in your packet. This
I've
last
got
one?
an extra one.
You got an extra one?
I've got my last week in there, not changes.
Okay, that's okay. I just didn't look for mine.
Go ahead and review, we don't wanna do these.
Got it.
Oh, perfect. So we'll look over expenditures. The IT stands warranty, that was a board-approved expense at a meeting, $16,116. Will be coming from our general basic reserves. On the flip side of that, there is some revenue to offset that from an emergency preparedness grant with sheriff, $2,592. Overall, $13,524 will be coming from the general basic reserve fund. Moving down, capital projects, conservation. We have the Great Western Park furnace for $4,500. Those funds will be getting pulled from conservation's capital fund. And a little further down, we have capital projects ambulance, motor vehicle, $183,060. That is for the board-approved purchase of an ambulance. And then that medical equipment for $17,000. both of these expenses should have been handled by me at budget time when we budgeted for it. I budgeted for it on the general basic side to take it out of the general fund and move it to his capital fund, but I did not budget it in the capital fund so we could write a check out of there. So this will take care of that. We already have it handled on the general fund side, but this will allow us to issue checks from his capital fund to pay for the new ambulance. And if he would decide to buy any medical equipment during fiscal 17, that money would be available to him to use because it is in his budget on the general basic side. So majority of the budget amendment is basically capital projects, but the overall cost to the reserves would be $218,084 with $13,524 of that coming from the general fund, and let's see here, $204,560 from capital funds. And that's all I have for an explanation. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay. Any questions for Courtney? No big bottom line changes, just getting things reorganized a little bit there with our, what we had budgeted for, except for the IT change with the SAM. That's an additional expense that we hadn't talked about earlier. All right. Any questions or discussion on that?
Any written comments on the budget?
Okay. Any other comments from anyone on the budget amendment from the public or?
Quick, so the ambulance was planned on being purchased, just shipped funds?
It was
Yeah.
budgeted for in the general fund, but not on the capital side.
Okay.
So it was just a clerical error.
Sure.
Yeah. Doesn't. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no other comments, I will close the public hearing on the budget at 10:12 a.m. Okay. Now, we have some appropriations resolutions here.
Can I get a motion to approve the amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment.
Okay. It's been a motion to approve the amendment. Is there a second there? And we have a second for that. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the budget amendment. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried, budget amendment approved.
That's your official one.
Okay. Okay. Now, to follow that up, we have an appropriations resolution. We actually have three of them here, but the one I'm talking about now is the one that has to do with the budget amendment that we just visited about. I would entertain a motion to approve the appropriations resolution for the county budget amendment.
So moved.
I'll second
It's
it.
been moved and seconded to approve the appropriations resolution. That will be by a roll call vote.
Bach?
Yes.
Beardmore?
Yes.
Shetler?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Danzer?
Yes.
Motion carries. I made a note, I was in on Friday and did all these, and I was on some cold medicine, so I had an error there and an error here. But I do need signatures on that.
Okay.
Do you need them in brewing?
They're just for our file.
I think Dave's the only one that requires blue ink, isn't it?
A lot of stuff with
Pretty
DOT,
much.
yeah.
A lot of stuff we do out there, new ops, that'd be all blue, especially federal grants.
Same with Region 12, same way.
Okay. Then we have two other appropriations resolutions. We ready for that, Courtney?
Sure.
And they're identical, except for one point. What it is appropriating the balance of the budget. We've approved 85% already. And Courtney's prepared two of these. One is for appropriating 14% and one for 15%. And here's how I'll explain it, and then Courtney maybe can clarify it. Earlier, when we did the budget, we decided to appropriate 99%, and then if someone needed that extra 1%, they could come and visit with us. However, there are some entities where we have a specific dollar amount, and this was brought up with REAP. Do they want the extra 1%, and some of the others? So for that reason, we could approve 15% and give everybody all their money right now, or we could approve the 14%, and any entity who needed the 1% extra could come and visit with us, and we would make the determination at that point. Courtney, did I explain that clearly?
Yeah. Last year, we had a few, a lot of it was supplemental, because they needed it for FICA and IFRS. I was trying to think of the ones that came back and asked for the 1%.
Mhm.
County attorney, of course, all of our Department 99, which would be a lot of the nonprofits that were committed funds. But really, there weren't a lot of departments that actually needed the remaining 1% or chose to come in and ask for it. They turned in more than the 1%.
And I think most of them have been very good about not trying to run it up to the last end.
Most people are very, most departments are very conscious about their budgets, and
The reason I suggested this at budget time is we did have a department that did
We did that one time.
use quite a bit, and there was quite a discussion on whether or not they should have visited with supervisors ahead of time, et cetera, and it got to be a little bit of a contentious, just a little bit, and we thought, well, we'll solve that, we'll just contribute part of it. That way, you know, you need to come and visit with us if you want or need to spend the entire budget. So that's why that was done by the vote of this Board of Supervisors.
I guess one comment I'm gonna add here is some of the feedback that we got after last year. I would tend to go with 15%, and when we go around and do our budget department heads with the department heads, ask them if they can cut 1% out of their budget and let it to their discretion. And I think we'd get a lot less grief than what we got last year.
I'll agree with that.
I got a lot of grief.
Yeah,
I think it needs to be handled at budget time and not at appropriations time.
Right.
I
I'd rather be
think,
stiff
I
with
think
that.
we made a point last year. And I would recommend the 15% as well.
I think the point was very well taken too.
Yes.
I think they know that we, and like and Neil says, it was basically one department that we had an issue with. And I think that's been taken care of.
And if it happens again, you can always reconsider it next year.
Yeah.
Yep.
In light of the backlash that we got, I think part of that occurred because we didn't go back and explain it very well to the department heads after we had done it. We did it, we discussed it, and they weren't here to hear the discussion. We should have said, hey, this is what we did and why we did it. I think that would have solved
That would help,
99%
yeah.
of the issue there. So, we have two appropriations resolutions here, one for 14 and one for 15%. And we need to approve one of them. Any other discussion from the board or a motion for something?
I'd make a motion for the 15%.
I'd second that motion.
All right, the motion was made to approve the 15%. Any further discussion, or any discussion on that motion? Okay. We will call for the question, and it will be by roll call vote.
Bob?
Yes.
Beardmore?
Yes.
Shelton?
Yes.
Miners?
Yes.
Danzer?
Yes.
Motion carries. I also made a notation on for the correct date.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on those appropriations resolutions or anything, Courtney? I think we have that all taken care of. Okay, then we're up to item number 7. There's a courthouse lighting update discussion with Yellow Blue. Is that who we have here?
Yes, sir.
All right. You can come forward, please. We got a chair or chairs here, if you'd like to, Marty.
Either way.
Yeah, have a seat here, and you can explain your
Okay.
proposal to us, if you would, please.
Do y'all have a copy of the proposal?
Yes.
Okay. Let me explain a little bit about who we are if you look at the front page, it talks a little bit about us. Yellow Blue is a company that is out of Pleasantville, Iowa. My name's Troy Downey, that's my wife Denise, and we have Jacob Bedler with us. We live in Coon Rapids. We've been associated with Yellow Blue Ecotech for a little over 3 years. Yellow Blue Ecotech is a company that does green products. We do solar, we do insulation, we do ventilation, solar projects all over the United States and Canada. Innovative Lighting, which is the oldest LED company in America, is located in Rowland, Iowa, and they came to Yellow Blue for us to do their marketing for them, because we are nationwide and international company. So, 4, 5, well, we started talks with them about 8 months ago, 9 months ago, started selling product for them in July. We came and talked to Zach in August about doing a proposal. Innovative Lighting actually did a proposal for y'all 3 years ago. And at that time, that proposal was a little over $120,000. Since then, the price of LEDs has come down dramatically. At that time, the rebates were about twice as high as what they are right now today, but the price of the product has come down so much that the proposal looks so much better than it did 3 years ago. The benefits of LED are dramatic compared to fluorescent lighting. One is we use 50% less energy. If you just take into account what watts we're replacing, the watts that the fluorescent light take compared to the number of watts that LED take is about 50% right there. Then you throw into consideration the ballast. We removed the ballast, so there's no ballast using LED, and the ballast itself uses a lot of watts, and it stores a lot of energy. We don't have any mercury in our product. The color rendering is better. The light itself is just better. Innovative Lighting, they actually design and produce all the drivers, the chips, the diodes, and all these lights, because the fluorescent lights can't be made in America anymore because of the mercury. So all the tubes and everything are made in China. They're all made in 100 square miles in China. So for us to build those lights, we have to send our product to China. They assemble them into the tubes that are made there, and then they ship them back to us. All the LED tube lights, all that stuff is all made in China. Once they are shipped back to us into Rowland, Iowa, we have to take temperatures, check at every connection to make sure that the product that they've assembled are actually our product. In China, it is a virtue if they can pull one over on you. So you have to check every batch to make sure that we're actually getting our product back. So we do that. So our product, worldwide, there's about 3% failure rate on the product, on an LED product. We have less than a 1% failure rate with our diodes and chips and drivers. So if we put our product in, our product should last 20 years with no maintenance. So let's go to the crossover analysis. Right now, based off of the records that we got from Zach, you guys are spending $11,481.40 just to turn your lights on inside the building a year. Once we go to LED, your cost is gonna go to $51.92.34 based off of what you're paying for a rate right now, okay? So that's gonna save you $6,289.06 a year. Your proposed kilowatt usage, and this is just math, guys. This is just watts versus watts, okay? The number of watts that the LEDs take versus the number of watts that the fluorescent lights take. So your kilowatt use is gonna be 51,923 versus 106,930, which is a 51.06% load reduction. That's a hard number. I mean, that's just math, okay? That is a hard number. So if you go down to the second from the bottom number there, your payback, your return on investment before rebates and tax incentives, which you guys don't have any tax incentives, it would take you 4.3 years to pay for that system, okay? Right now, you are going to get an estimated rebate of $12,877 from Mid-American, which makes your payback period 2.64 years. Okay? We go to the next page, and we'll show you what the system would cost. The product with sales tax and shipping, and there's no sales tax. Is there sales tax on that? There's sales tax on that?
Well, no, they don't pay tax.
Shouldn't be
So
sales
there
tax.
isn't.
So sales tax is removed.
Okay. So, the product and shipping is $22,889.60. Estimated installation is $10,376.07. Brings a total proposed amount of $33,265.67. Your estimated rebate of $12,877 brings your net cost to $20,388.67.
So that 33,265.67, that's a hard number.
That's a hard number.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Now, you can reduce that. Zach thinks that date, because he has an assistant now, that he can do the installation himself.
So what involves, these fixtures, you can use these fixtures, you just change the ballast?
We take the
and-
ballast out, we change the tombstones, which are the hangers that the bulbs hang in, and we're just replacing the lamps.
Okay.
Yep. So we're using the same fixtures. The only thing is you're gonna have no more ballast, and you'll have
So,
LED.
and this figure includes every light in this place.
Every light in this place. No outside lighting. We have not done any outside lighting.
Also, those ROIs that he talked about does include this estimated installation amount, so if you were to
Zach
cancel
does it.
that out, if your own people do it, then that 10,000 comes off and your ROI is even probably less than 2 years,
So,
that they actually pay.
for example, you're gonna pop the cover off that, rip out the ballast and the bulbs, and the LEDs fit right in there.
Yes.
They'll be made to fit.
Yep, yep, yep.
And this 10,000 is just what would you estimate a contractor would charge?
Right.
We could save that Zach doesn't work for free either, I'll tell you
Right,
that.
right.
But it would be
But
some
it wouldn't
savings
be
by
additive,
having it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So how, you know, somebody commented on they look different? I mean, they're brighter, or?
Well, yeah,
Let's talk,
Here.
how do you measure light? Is that lumens that's used on a light meter?
Yeah.
How does the lumens change?
well, here's the thing. The lumens on the LEDs goes up by about 20 to 30%. But the big thing is the color, okay? So fluorescent lights, if you like this amount of light, okay, it really, the brightness really doesn't change a lot. It's the color. So, these, I believe, are 4,000, is the color. The color goes by a number, 2,700, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000.
The higher the number, the whiter.
The whiter the light. Okay? The big thing is if they want it brighter, okay, then we just put in a higher number, okay? But fluorescent lights lose 30% of their light capacity within the first 6 months of being put in. The more you turn them on and off, okay, the less light capacity there is. So, like if you had them set on an occupancy switch, so somebody walked into the room and they turned on, and then when they walked out, they turned off, that'll kill a fluorescent light, okay? An LED light, you can turn it on and off as many times as you want, absolutely makes no difference to it, okay? So if you were wanting to save even more money, we could put occupancy sensors on it, and then they would turn on and off, and it wouldn't matter. It'd just make the lights go from 20 years probably to 25 years, okay?
So you do that there, or at the switch?
The switch.
It should be
At
the
the
switch.
switch.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought you did that.
But the amount of light from an LED, whether you go from a 4,000 color light, which is a softer white light, to a 5,000, which is a really white light, okay? The number of lumens doesn't change, it's just the color, okay? Where in fluorescent, it's a whole different deal. If the number of light, the lumens go down with the color, so if you want a softer light in that, you're actually losing lumens, where in LED it doesn't. The other thing is, on fluorescent light, if they say it's a 5,000 hour light, that's when the light goes out. Okay, they're saying that the light will actually burn out in 5,000 hours. On LED, if they say it's a 5,000 hour light, that's when it loses 30% of its capacity. So that light might actually have 70% of its light for 30 years. But at most of these are gonna be 50,000 hour lights. So, that light could be the same as a fluorescent light after the first 6 months for 25 years. So, if we go to the next page, it's gonna show you what your monthly savings is gonna be by going to LED. And
I got page
Page 3.
page 3. Okay. It's gonna save you guys $644.34. If you wanted to do this with no money out of your pocket and just pay for it with your savings at 0% interest, you can do that, and your payment would be $566.35, which would put another, for 3 years, which would put $77.99 into the general fund. If you go to the last page, it's gonna show you, it's called the do nothing page. If you stay with where you're at right now for the next 5 years, you're gonna spend $68,888.40 just to turn these lights on. If you go to LED, in 5 years, you're gonna spend $51,542.70, and that includes the upgrade with installation. Okay? So in 20 years, the life of the lights, okay, you're gonna spend $413,330.43. And this is taking into consideration that there's an average of a 3.5% increase in utility costs every year. So it takes that into consideration. This year, we're on REC and ours went up 5.42%. So, and in 20 years with LED, you're gonna spend $207,312.84. So it's gonna put about $206,000 back into the general fund in 20 years by going to LED.
What are some comparable places you've done the past couple of years, or what's your references type things that we can talk to? Done any similar buildings in the last couple of years? Talk to somebody that's had results?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I can get you all kinds of them. I don't have a whole list of them that we've done, because we just started doing this 4 or 5 months ago ourselves, but I can get you references. I know we just did a courthouse in South Dakota. That was about a $17,000 deal. We've got quite a few courthouses that we've done. I can show you a video.
What I would like is just some
Yeah.
references, so we
Yeah.
can say, hey, Troy talked to us, it sounded pretty good.
Right.
You've done it, does it work this way in your building?
Yeah, yeah. I can show you just a quick difference. Maybe, I gotta take it off there. And show you the difference of the light. We did Coon Rapids in real estate and insurance down there. And it's a pretty dramatic effect in that. I won't show you the whole video, I'll just show you the picture of it. the difference in the lighting is unreal.
If a guy was to do one of these projects, how long would that take to do this facility?
If we had, our guys do it, probably, if we were doing it during the business hours, it would probably take us 2 weeks to do it. You know, if we were doing it after hours, it'd probably take about a week. You know?
Troy, this proposal, it says Carroll County Courthouse. Are you figuring just the courthouse property and its
Yeah.
floors and its
Yeah.
lights?
Yeah.
Okay. Courtney, I remember 3 years ago, you know, it seemed like it was more 3 years, I was the chair. And so I remember going through, we did that countywide study, and that proposal included all of the facilities. It wasn't just the courthouse. Now, I remember we moved forward with an upgrade with the bulbs
Mhm.
in the courthouse, what we did
That's
there.
already used for us.
But
Yeah, I do remember that.
I just wanted to remind the board that this proposal is just for the courthouse itself and not all of the other county facilities. So, you know,
Right.
if we did something, you know, you might want to consider, you know, going beyond just these walls here.
The right's LED, the left is fluorescent.
Another question I had for you is, you mentioned it twice. You said just to turn the lights on.
Yep.
So this 11,481, and did I understand Zach gave you those numbers?
Yeah, we got them off of the utility bill.
Okay,
So
and-
what we did was took the rate that you're paying for your kilowatts, okay, and the number of lights, okay, that are in the courthouse. The watts that those lights use and the number of hours that those lights are on to come up with that number.
Okay, so this isn't taken off any utility bill or anything like
Yeah,
that? It's
well, the
kilowatt would be, sure.
The kilowatt
but-
rate is,
Sure,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because I was wondering how you were able to calculate just to turn your lights on.
Right, right. You just take the number of lights times the watts times the hours that they're on.
The estimate is actually based on 10 cents a kilowatt hour.
Okay, based on 10 cents. That's probably about what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of an average, but the rates change between summer and winter. That's kind of an average.
Right.
How long is this proposal good? On the last page, it says pricing for 30 days, and the front cover it says October 20th, so what do
Yeah.
you guys do?
The rebates are gonna change, January 1. But I don't think they're gonna change that much. So, I don't know that for sure, because they haven't, announced the actual rebates for 2017, although, we have had guys in on the meetings. You know, it'll be pretty close. It'll be pretty close. But if you're wanting to lock that down, once you do the paperwork, so that we say that it's purchased, you have, with Mid-American, a year to, once you purchase it, to get it done. So you could actually do it in 2017 budget year, if you want to, if you were wanting to write a check. If you were wanting to use your savings to pay for the program and do the 0% financing, then you can pay that off after a year, if you want.
If we would approve to do this today, when would we have our first light bulb available to put in?
That is a good question. I'd have to check with our inventory, but I would say that depending on if Zach's doing it or we're having a local contractor do it, I would say that we could probably be putting in the lights within the next 30 days.
All right.
You said a local contractor.
Mhm.
Not, you don't put them in?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
I thought you said, before you said our people.
Yeah.
When you talked about.
We have local contractors that.
Okay.
That, we always like to use the local contractors in the area.
Okay.
You know, we're trying to keep everybody, you know, working, and so, but we do have local contractors that we use.
So when I was kind of fishing around here for when you have to have an answer from us here on this 30-day deal, it's, the price of the lights probably aren't going to change for quite a while, but it's, the rebate is what you're concerned about.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right. The price of the lights have come down about 5 times from where they were in the last 3 years. So I don't really see where the lights are gonna get a whole lot cheaper. But the rebates are, you know. Last year, in 2015, for example, Mid-American was paying $25 a lamp for a bulb. And they came down in half for 2016, it's $12.50. But I don't think that they're gonna get cut in half again. They're likely to come down a little, but I don't see that happening in 2017. But the more people are going to adopt the conversion, you know, then the money's getting spent, and there's gonna be, you know, they'll cut it down. Right now, nationwide, there's between 3% and 5% of the businesses that have made the conversion to LED. Since we have taken over the sales for Innovative, we've sold them. We've quoted about 8 times the amount of businesses that Innovative has done in the whole 2016, and we've done that in the last 5 months. So.
Nobody likes surprises, so I think to do a deal like this, you know, we have to be reassured what
Sure.
our cost and our rebates would be. Because
Sure.
to get one and then have the other fall short would be
Right.
Not good for anybody, you or us.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
I
saying?
fully understand.
So that's very
The
feasible.
rebate is actually prescriptive on all of this. None of it's custom, so it doesn't have to be approved. It's, you can go right on their website and pull up their form and see exactly what
Mid-American is
what they
paying.
pay on every tube, every
Okay.
lamp.
All right, good. You'd want to do the two simultaneously almost, or you certainly wouldn't want to buy the bulbs and then have the rebate change and everything
Yeah,
change.
once we do the paperwork and show that the deal is done, then the rebate is locked in. So that is a hard number there.
Well, this rebate you're talking about is strictly for businesses, right? Because I don't think you can do that for private.
It is a commercial rebate.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, that's the word I should have used.
Now, I'm not sure I understood this part. We've got two options, either the cash or the lease thing. Is there any financing charge on the lease thing, or?
No, it's 0%.
So there's no advantage to pay cash in advance, is there? I mean, you just soon finance it and pay a little at a time.
Yeah, I mean.
Or is there an advantage to cash that I missed here?
No, there's not.
Okay.
No, it's just however you guys want to do it. Some people
Sure.
want to just,
Get her over with, yep.
yep.
Same money
Yeah.
anyway.
Right.
Okay.
But-
No cash discount.
No.
Any questions from the board?
So this, yeah, this 33,265.67, that's for 30 days? Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's for 30 days. We would have to check on what the rebates would be
Sure,
for
yeah.
them.
Yep. Okay.
There's no switching issues, whether it be motion, timer, dimmer, they all work with all of those switching capabilities out there.
Yeah, yeah. If they wanted motion sensors or occupancy sensors, that would be an additional charge, but
They all work with all
yeah,
applications.
all applications.
You brought up a good point. Troy, just refresh one more time. The 566.35 is a 36-month, 0%
Mhm.
lease or own or
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, and that includes all of the lighting that you've proposed and installation?
And installation.
I must be doing wrong math.
Minus the rebate. That would be applying. the
Okay,
rebate to that.
thank you.
That
That's where it
final
is.
net number.
Okay,
is
minus the rebate.
calculated to the-
Thank you, that's where it is. Then you're right on the money.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions here for?
If you wanted to, though, you could finance the whole amount, and then
Cash
just
the
put your
rebate.
rebate in your fund. You can keep it, but that would change the payment a little bit.
Sure.
And as far as LED lights, is all LED lights created equal?
No.
So how do
Not
we know
even
yours,
close.
how do we know yours are the good stuff?
Well,
What's the measurement criteria for LED lights?
well, there's a lot of measurements for LED lights. There's a lot of difference in LED lights. One is the driver, okay, which is like the ballast, okay? LED lights are low voltage, okay? They're basically converting to 12 volt is what's happening, okay? They run off low voltage. So any time you look at an LED light, there's basically three components, okay? One is you have the actual diode, the light emitting diode, okay? Two is the chip, the computer that runs it, okay? And then three is the driver that changes it from AC to DC, okay? So you have those three basic components, that there is a huge difference in quality in those. But then there's the connection between the driver to the chip to the diode, and each one of those has to be at a certain temperature, okay? So we have to make sure that they are actually using our components. We pull out samples from every batch, open them up, check and make sure that it's our driver, our chip, and our diodes. But then you have to take temperatures at each one of those connections to make sure that they are connected correctly, so that you're not building up too much heat. LEDs don't like heat, okay? So once you get over 140 degrees, that weakens each one of those connectors, okay? So we have to make sure that each one of those are installed correctly and that it meets our specs. Nobody else in the business does that. You go buy a Sylvania, a Phillips, a GE light, they're all made in the same factories that ours are. But the stuff that doesn't have our components in it and doesn't meet our specifications, we send back and it gets thrown into another bin, okay? And that bin is then sold to somebody else. So what they do in China is they have, for example, an A, B, C, D, E bin, okay, 5 different bins. And the cheaper, the less quality they get. If they don't meet these specs, they just keep going down until they get to the E bin, for example. And depending on the price point, what they want to sell at is the bin that they buy out of. All our stuff is above A bin. It all comes to us directly. And if they try and slip something in that's not our components, we ship it back. If it doesn't meet our temperature requirements at each one of the connections, we ship it back. And you can come right to Roland, Iowa, and watch them test it.
What do you have referrals?
Yeah, I can get you a list of referrals. Like I said, we just started doing this like 4 or 5 months ago, so we're just getting some product closed. But I can get you the stuff that Innovative has done. You know, it's the same product. I can get you all kinds of referrals on that. So.
If it would be helpful, I could email on to Courtney and she could forward them to you guys.
Sure,
That's
that'd be
fine.
great. Appreciate that. Okay, any other questions for our lighting proposal people? Downies?
No.
Okay. Right, well.
Thanks, Troy.
You
You bet, thank you.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. You guys have a blessed New Year.
Yep.
And if you have any other questions, you can call or email.
Perfect.
We'll get you the referrals.
All right, thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
Terry was here and he stuck out.
Courtney's office,
You just walked by.
Huh?
You just walked by.
Well, he's close anyway.
Right. Did you see the picture?
Okay. We had Terry a while ago.
Thank you.
Don't have a
Thank
blessed
you.
night.
You betcha.
Hi, Terry.
Good morning, Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Now, the last person offered to save us $200,000 over the next 20 years. We're anxious to see what you can do for us, Terry.
Well, I can double that.
Good
First
morning.
hire doesn't stand a chance.
I better not ask that question.
I didn't give them anything.
Okay.
I didn't know if you have stuff.
Okay.
What you're receiving is just sort of a summary of some of the changes that happened on the policy over the past year for the renewal. And so I thought we'd start with that. I do have a full copy of everything here in the policy that I can pass out as well.
What do you got, Rick?
There's two more right here.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't mistake. One from Mark. Yep. Okay, the first one, under the heading of Terry on the top, is what we'll start with. And this just kind of goes through the changes of the policy over the course of last year for the renewal. And you can see the first thing is they automatically increase the property 2%. It's an inflation protection. So you can see that the property went up totally $326,699. The contents remain the same. We don't change that because we don't know what you're doing with your contents, but when we give these to all department heads, they review them, and hopefully they're keeping, good tabs on what we're looking at. We changed some vehicles last year, and then the biggest thing is, we discussed this last time, we went to all $500,000 deductibles, 500 on comp, 1,000 on collision, on all those vehicles that the department heads wanted coverage for physical damage. We left it up to the department heads to choose, if they've got an old junker out there that they're not too concerned about physical damage, no value, then they're just putting liability coverage on those so that they're in there. And there's a full breakdown of all the vehicles in that packet if you want to look at all the vehicles. But number 3, the adjusted operating expenditures is that's what bases the liability premium on. Your total revenues were down $199,000 from last year, and so the general liability premium went down $221. Public officials is down $690 due to less full-time employees. Part-time actually increased. Then the last thing, the member credit. The member credit is, I don't want to call it a dividend because it is not a dividend, but it's a function of how well the program does. And so this year, your member credit went up $2,884 last year, so you were receiving $25,000 as opposed to $22,000. Bottom line, the total premium on your policy went up $142.72 from last year. So overall, with the increases in the property and the value of the vehicles, because the vehicles you changed actually went up in value. On the bottom, you can see there's a full list of vehicles that you changed or added throughout the course of the policy.
Before you get too far, Terry, item number 4, was that maybe, I'm trying to figure 21 less full-time employees.
Yeah, and
Is
I'm
there
not
just
sure
a
it's-
classification
I think it's
change?
classification, and then where, I'll have to double check on where that came up. These are just reports that when we hand out, they're turning back into us.
We normally average 120, 122 full-time employees. Isn't that about right, Courtney? Does that ring a
Give or
bell?
take, I don't do payroll anymore.
No,
so the-
okay.
those numbers.
I could take a look at the.
And then,
But I mean, I filled that information out. And I would've
but
pulled
it
that
just
straight
sure
from
stuck
payroll.
out to me. I mean, we
Sure
certainly
does.
didn't close a department or lay anybody off or
Well-
anything, so.
I think I remember some of them coming from, the county attorney's office was listed as full-time in the previous years.
So we may have moved some
They're
from
part-time.
full-time to part-time.
They're not full-time,
Right.
they're part-time.
Because the 11 more part-time would assume 10 of those or 11
Sure.
of those.
Yeah, I know that that is some of it.
Okay.
And I'd have to go back and look at my notes and find out. But the new payroll system tracks our employees so much better than the old one. The old one, you could go in and it looked like somebody was a full-time employee, but if you'd actually look at it, they technically
Okay.
So I'll get with Courtney and double check it, but.
Well, the premium's based on it, so I think that we we
yeah,
go to
on-
great lengths to
just-
find out
just for
what the
public
accurate
officials.
number is.
Some of them could be case management.
Yeah.
That department got down from what it used to be.
Yeah.
Well, but we've, not really.
Two, three of them.
Back. Not really, we've got a few back.
Well, and I know like Jack
But I mean,
Spicer,
that
he was a
point in time.
full-time, he was always listed as full-time, but he's not. He's
Okay.
part-time, he only works 3 days a week. So those were actually really closely looked at this
Okay.
year versus maybe not. maybe
I would just doubt
they
that
were
there's
generally-
10 less full-time.
It's just how the software interpreted it?
Well, the
Is that what
software keeps
kind-
track of it better.
Yeah,
now.
okay.
Before, they might have all been lumped in as full-time, when technically,
They're
they
actually-
really weren't. They
okay,
were-
so I can
they
see
were
that.
part-time.
We were concerned about, we were paying for some vehicles, and we should have been more concerned about the full-time, part-time classification.
But
Really?
I'll double check that.
More important
with-
paying some people.
with Courtney on that, to double check that and make sure. The second page, that one-page sheet, what I did was, on the top, you see the coverage. Currently, you're at $5 million of total liability coverage, auto coverage. Anything for liability, you've got $5 million of coverage. And it gives you the option then, if you'd like to go to a higher limit, whether you want 6 million, 7 million, 8 million. And then down below, on the total, you can see that if you went from 5 million limit to $6 million limit, it would change your premium from $214,753 to $26,444 for an increase of $1,691. The other thing I did was, on the very bottom, those figures are a list of the counties that we have in the ICAP program. It shows you what your fellow counties, now this isn't naming any county specifically, but you can see one county still has a $2 million limit. 4 of them have a $3 million limit. 5 of them have a $15 million limit, and so on. And so you're kind of in the middle, I guess, is where you're at. But I just thought that would be some information that you can see how you are comparing against your peers.
We're at 5 now?
You're at
Yes.
5.
We just raised that a couple of years back,
Oh,
two
boy,
or 3 years back.
I think so, but at least 3. Time goes pretty fast, but I'd have to look back. But yes, we did. Any questions on any of what we've gone through so far? The rest of it is a packet, and if you just flip to the final page is the premium summary. And this gives you a breakdown of what your costs look at by department. And so you can see that the building property premium is $45,000 last year. It went up to $46,000 this year. On the very last page of this packet. And then you can see in the middle is the liability section, which goes above your general liability, auto, and the professional. Professional would be things like the police, professional. Then the auto physical damage is sort of the last portion of that, which went from 37,000 to 39,000. And then with member credit, it brings us to those totals of 189,441 from last year to 189,584 for this year. So I'm not sure if there's anything more in depth that you want to go into. This is kind of the Bible. It's got everything in here, so we can go through any particular line or property coverage, liability coverage that you want to look into. It gives you a breakdown of all your, and I just should point out that in the beginning, what we do is I give this all to Courtney. Courtney gives it to each department head, and then they go through and fill out their section. And when I get done, I turn it all back, and like the auto ID cards she has, and we give those back to her based on departments, so she gets them out to all those folks who have everything.
So the Mallard View is building and contents, and everything's just under 3 million.
Yes, the premium for that, I looked that up, is $6,890. So it was just shy of $6,900 for Mallard View.
That was how much now?
$6,890 for that. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was like $3 million, roughly $3 million worth of coverage out there with
When
building
you-
and the property.
What page you on, Neil?
Top of page 8 is where you'll find it.
That's something to consider, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
6 bills? I imagine if that comes off at the time of renewal, that would be rebatable.
How does that work, Terry?
That's,
I was understanding it was differently, that if we took a vehicle or off, it would stay till the next.
it does, but you're before the renewal process yet. We're not until January 1, so I mean,
Okay.
you have to make a quick,
But once you renew, then what happens?
then it stays the same for the 1-year period. Property.
So we're
It's
stuck
not
with this.
rebatable at
The
all?
property, I want to double check on, because I'm not sure.
We were
I think-
talking about vehicles, and they stuck with you.
I can
till the
understand
end.
vehicles, but property should be entirely different, should it not?
Well, that's, I guess.
Why don't you check on that, Terry? Please. That's a fair amount. It's
Yeah, that's a fair amount.
and I think we got the
The
content.
deadline just went up.
We have the contents pretty darn high.
Friday, fire sale.
Give me another piece.
Yeah, decide
You
by-
wanna buy it for $7 grand?
Well,
You'd
I'm
save,
sure
you'd
it's
save
on
us
my
a
desk. I
grand.
just brought this
Decide by
tonight.
Friday now,
I have
yeah.
one, but
We'll
he
give
needs
it to you,
to-
Bert.
Yeah, just gave you the.
They'd have to decide by Friday, is that right?
Like I said, I can make a quick phone call if I have my phone in the car, but.
Which begs the question, why are we insuring it?
Well,
For liability purposes, right?
This
This is for everything. This is for
No, I'm talking about building contents.
It's
building
Contents.
contents and
Uh,
building
Private
and the
property.
contents.
Building and contents.
I'm not talking liability.
If tornado
You don't want
took,
that
if a tornado
content.
took it out, they just did us a
I
favor.
guess, yeah, we could,
Although we
Yeah, I get your point. I mean, why would we want to?
If a tornado takes that building, we're all in trouble.
Oh, I just told him, I said, the tornado
Agreed.
takes it, just did us a
Like an
favor.
six.
if it's a spot treatment, we'd be,
It begs the question, Neil.
Yeah. I mean, we can save pretty good chunk real quick.
I'm
Let's
interested
go
in
back
taking
to
it off
item
the
6 for a
insurance
moment.
roll right now.
What's that, Neil?
We had to have something for liability. 'cause if
But it
something
just,
else-
this is just content.
I'm just talking about-
This is just
If we
contents.
take
This
property
is
Building.
just
after
Building and
building
do
contents.
they-
Yeah.
Do they prorate?
I-
We still have our
So, I
$5
mean-
million
Okay.
umbrella.
The umbrella that would cover
Okay.
anybody walking or.
Perfect, all right, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that would be my
Yeah,
concern.
Property is prorated back, so if you cancel it 6 months in, you're gonna get half of it back.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, That changes my attitude.
Yeah, it
That
changes
changes
my
my
attitude.
attitude.
Yeah, so-
Otherwise, I
You just
didn't know why we had
sold
it.
yourself some
I still
insurance, or you
question
just
it.
lost it.
Good thing Christmas is past, huh?
Yeah,
most of that 200,000.
Because I was thinking the same thing, let's get it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll give you a little time, I don't know what your plans are out there, but you can certainly
Still in
change that.
discussion, yeah.
We kind of like know ourselves.
You want to wear your real estate hat for a moment?
No.
Just-
I let the other side do that.
We're into property management right now. Okay, I know a year ago, we looked at this, we said we need to look at our vehicles and kind of shuffle them back and forth, make sure the new ones on and the old ones off, and we've accomplished that. We do have a question on the number of employees yet that we need to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've answered our question on the building, prorating that, it's prorated, so that's good.
What about that contents on Malibu, is that prorated too?
It would be, that's all property, but I don't know.
See, I can't imagine we have that much,
Value.
No,
unless it's like, is that the air conditioner and the
Well,
furnace?
That would be
oil?
permanently attached, so no, that would not.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what.
So the only thing would be the
Kitchen.
kitchen equipment and washer and dryer in the basement.
I would propose to take the contents off.
Yeah.
Of the policy.
Yep.
We have, the value just isn't there.
No. But it's gonna cost
Yeah,
us
I
more to
would
get rid of
take that
the contents than
25
the
off.
value of the contents themselves.
Oh, the right guy could park them off for the right price, but I'm not that guy.
That's what, another $1,000
Called eBay.
Approximately.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Well, that's 325,000, that's just not there.
No, it's not. I would propose to,
Well, I think we would
Take
take
the
it off.
contents.
Remove it completely.
I would propose to take the, and the next one down is a $2,000 item with $10,000 deductible. I don't even know what the EDP is.
EDP is electronic data processing, so that's all your computers.
We have none out
We
there.
have
We have
none
none
out
out
there.
there.
So those two I would recommend taking off. Is the board okay with
They might
that?
have been on there because our home carriers were out there previous.
Sure.
And they're now at the Fricky building.
Yeah.
So do they still have their computers?
Yes.
Well, they have them, but they're at the Fricky building now instead of being.
So would that have
there,
to change
so-
then?
Still need to
from
go
We'll
there?
change it, yeah.
Yeah.
The cost is going to be the same no matter where they're at. It's just a matter of,
Yeah.
Where
actually,
they're at.
what happens on all this is your property is all wrapped up in what we call a blanket. So we go through each one of these locations and we add the total property value up there. And so it gives you a total limit. So it doesn't make any difference where the property is at. You know, for example, we'll take the county home. You know, we had 325,000 on contents and 2.5 million on there. As long as you didn't go above and there was a tornado and took out the county home, if it was $3 million on the building itself, you would have enough coverage because they have it all lumped into what we call a blanket. We add up all the locations. We still break them down by location to kind of give us a rough estimate of what the total is, but then we put it all together. That way, the thought process behind there is you don't get ever uninsured. We have a high enough limit to cover it all, but we just don't want you to say, well, we want, insure half of what you have because it would all fall under there. So we try to go through each location and get a fairly accurate.
Okay, this tornado you're talking about went through, would we have to replace it to collect it?
No. Anytime property is not replaced, it goes back or reverts back to what's called actual cash value. So you've got what was called replacement cost, and there's really two forms, replacement cost or actual cash value. So if you choose not to replace any property that you own, it goes to the actual cash value, which means what is the actual value, what is it worth in dollars and cents. So out there, I mean, you'd have a $2.5 million building, and it's very difficult sometimes to determine what the actual value is. I mean, you didn't get a bid on it, so the value of it probably isn't a whole lot is the problem. And it becomes a real problem on some of your structures to go to an actual cash value bill because there's no comparables to try and figure out what is the actual value. A home in Carroll's pretty easy to find out what it is because there's a lot of comparables. But some commercial buildings, it gets very difficult to try and ascertain what would somebody have given me for that building at that particular point in time and the condition that it was in prior to the loss.
In light of our discussion, I believe our building is overinsured out there.
Well, for replacement costs, no, but for
Right.
Right.
actual value,
Yes.
most likely.
And it's not like the engineers area or the courthouse where.
That we'd have to
where you
have it
would-
again.
Where you have to have it again. So, I think we're all agreed to take the contents off of there. I think it deserves some discussion on the amount the
Wanna
2.5
insure
million on the
for it?
building.
Well, and that's something we could do that at a later date if we decide, if something doesn't happen and through our discussions. Couldn't we do that at a later point and say, hey, we ain't got nothing, we're gonna take the value off?
We can do
You
it right
can
now,
anytime.
too.
You do
Okay.
whatever you want. I mean, there's no.
If that's an open door, I'm good with it. Okay, for now, we'll.
You just need a trigger mechanism. I mean, people are human and, they're not gonna call it to our attention.
No.
Right.
Not till next year when we look at it.
Right, after you paid $6,000 for it.
Well, and.
Well, I have a trigger mechanism, so I'll make sure we talk about it again.
And I wonder if we shouldn't be looking at some of these other buildings that we have.
Well, hopefully, the department heads are looking at those.
Mine's
That's what
called
we,
Outlook.
you know.
Mine's called Outlook.
We had that gentleman come around.
Right.
Did he go to Mountain View?
I don't know. And have they been to all of them, the evaluations? There's going to be a valuation program coming up again. I don't think they value.
Because he was here, but I don't know if he went.
Up there.
Yeah. They are offering now, they're coming out with an individual who is doing values on all your higher dollar properties to make sure that we're in, especially courthouses and some of the unique structures that you have. It can be very difficult to figure out what it is, to replace a building like this courthouse. And so ICAP is very unique in that they came out with a program, It costs them probably $4,000 or $5,000 at least to come to a county and send these guys out. Valuation Northwest is the name of the company, and they are commercial specialists. They look at the structures, I think over $200 or $250,000, and they try to put a value on them as what it would be to replacement cost. Now, again, some of that, it's still an estimate, because, I mean, you can have things happen and the price of materials change, fluctuates drastically, and those are things beyond control. But it gives you a better idea of where you're at on all these.
If you look at this, it's $6 million, you ain't gonna build this building for $6 million.
Probably not. And so hopefully we'll look at those. And keep in mind, you do have a little bit of leeway there because of the blanket structures, but we still don't want to be $2 million underinsured.
Before I forget, but now when I see these, all it says Tamlet Fire Station, I assume that's contents because of the county ambulances in each one of those locations, right?
What page are you on?
Page 7. And I'm assuming that's what that is. Being those are county ambulances. That's contents, right?
It's auto physical damage, so it's ambulance.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify that.
And, one of the things that I can do is, since they're doing the evaluations, what I can do is go through maybe at a later date with Courtney and try to find out, okay, who can we talk to on these buildings, on ones that are not gone over with the appraiser. I shouldn't call them appraiser, the evaluation specialist is what they do.
I'm just laughing at myself. I'm just trying, I was sitting there thinking, sand bunker, what, sand bunker, sand bunker. And I figured that's how it's.
Secondary roads.
Oh, mine is.
That's all right. Any other questions? No, I apologize. It's always difficult to go through this because we could take hours to go through this page by page, and I'll certainly be happy to take the time to go through them as detailed as you want. It's just, like I said, hopefully that the county department heads are doing a pretty good job on this, keeping track of it, and then my job is to give you kind of a summary. But like I said, we can go into it as in deep as you would like.
Well, I think we can probably look through this ourselves, but I just now, I'm looking at this page 12 and 13. We have to trust our employees. I have no idea what's out there.
Well, and I mean, I would have to go out, to the engineer and ask him, what buildings, what's the value? They would have to, give us a pretty good idea of what's out there. And, especially with the engineer, it's almost impossible when you're going to all the little towns that have county sheds. I know in Dedham, and, I'm familiar with that one, but I mean, how many of them are out there that I wouldn't know about? I mean,
Sure.
I think we take a look at it. If we got a question, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, like the county home, we didn't really,
We just happened to see that.
nobody
going
looked,
through.
nobody,
Sure.
they just thought about their cars and stuff like that. They didn't really look at the building there.
What is RC and ACV?
Replacement cost versus actual cash value.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Anything we're missing as far as not ensuring that we should be? Pay test
Not that I can
testing, but
see.
it's important.
I think you've got adequate coverage, you're right in the middle liability-wise. And liability is where I'm always more concerned. I mean, because a piece of property is a finite loss. I mean, if you lose a building, you know that it's gonna be $200,000, and that's gonna cap it, or whatever it is. But with liability, you just never know. I mean, one of the things we try to tell people, it's impossible for me to tell you how much liability. You tell me what you're gonna do. You run a busload of kids off a bridge, and you ain't got enough. And so, that's why we try to look at, what's in the realm of average for our counties, and that's why I gave you that sheet of paper to kind of stack up where you're at. Is $5 million enough? To this point, you've never had a loss. that large. Would you have one tomorrow? Absolutely. So, but in answer to your question, everything seems to be in order. You know, counties are difficult at best to try and get a grasp on it because they're so large. And that's why, like I said, some of these policies, you know, this policy is designed to that. So, you know, we've got the blanket so that if we miss a building or something like that, we still have some coverage there. If you forget a department head to call us, you've got automatic coverage through the course of the year. If you add a vehicle, it's automatically included until the renewal. So we've got some time to try and find those kind of things. But like I said, there's nothing that stands out there that I would.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Terry? Thanks for coming in, Terry, appreciate it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So does the chair need to sign this, or can I?
Chair,
Chair?
you or the chair,
Okay.
either one,
Chair
because you are
there.
always a proxy, then it's always the board chairman and you as the
I
proxy.
can see that's the chair there.
It can be, all of them can be either one.
Okay.
So,
So this would be the price on that tower that we're insured for?
22,000? Oh, this one out here.
40 to 40.
Okay.
And will I be able to do this even if we remove that? Will
If,
there be some changes?
There will be a slight modification for this, and I will have Lori get back to you tomorrow on whether or not, what the $325,000 contents removal will do as far as reduction on that.
Because I won't be doing anything until we have our first building.
Right, if whatever you said, yeah.
Yep. The thing with Mallard View, you know, is if we would strike a sale, say in February, we better keep it insured until the sale is done deal.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise, so, I put it on my list for May 1st to revisit that. So we'll do it at that time or somewhere around there. We'll check that over, see where we're at then.
And I will, if I haven't heard anything about things happening out there, I will make a note to call Courtney on the first, or around the first, to see if.
A bad case scenario would be to have someone sell it at whatever price and then have something happen
I'm not insured.
in between, you know. so-
That would be problematic.
Yeah. Okay.
All right?
Thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Terry.
Terry.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Terry.
Terry.
Good job.
Happy New Year, Terry.
Happy New
Same
Year.
to you guys.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you.
Okay. Next, we have manure management. I believe everything else was done on our agenda. We have three of them. Bill Smith has a 4-year update, and he's changed his feeding system. New Fashion Pork, 191 Patso, Section 27, Richland Township. They've added acres, changed crop rotations. They're using manure analysis. And third is Golden Cuff Finisher Farm, Section 32, Viola Township, Sac County. They've added acres, changed crop rotations, they're using manure analysis, and it includes their 4-year compliance MNP. Okay. Mark, one more time.
Yeah.
Committee reports.
Well, I had no official meetings this week, but if I could have your deepest appreciation for all of you guys that, you know, I started this with you guys as my friends, and fortunately, I'm ending it with you guys as my friends. And how do I know that? You guys have all been very close to me the last year, especially with recent events. And I at least I know I got 4 guys that'll carry my box. I just got to go out and find 2 more. But more importantly, you guys have been my brothers, and we might have differing opinions on how to best propel Carroll County into the next decade and century on. But we always end up back at the table with the same mission, and the same mission is to continue Carroll County at that same mission. And we always end up united, and that's something that I'm going to part this board with a great deal of satisfaction in knowing. Courtney, you've been my sounding board. You've been the one that's kept me on the straight and narrow. You keep these guys on the straight and narrow, I guarantee you that. But anyways, I will go to great lengths to thank you as well. Rich, I know that you feel you're very well prepared. I think you've done a great job being able to hit the ground running. I know that you're going to be able to have a great deal of trust and confidence in these guys as well. And I hope that you can end things in your tenure the way that I have with these guys as your friends and confidants, and have just the kind of respect for this seat as though it so richly deserves. So once again, I thank each and every one of you. I hope to be in touch with you, and if I can ever be of service, I'll be offended if you don't call me. Okay? Thank you, too.
Dean, can you top that one?
I can't.
Yeah, you can.
Let's skip.
I can't. I didn't have any official business, so
Okay.
I'll pass it on to Gene.
Anything coming up this week?
I don't have anything coming up this week
Okay.
either, except
All
for
right.
a celebration.
It's that time of the year.
Last week, Neil and I went through Mallard View with some potentials, and it was kind of eye-opening again, what all the amount of stuff that's out there and what's got to be done. And then after that, I went up to Storm Lake. I had a meeting with ISAC. We trying to figure out some ideas, kind of a brainstorming deal, get more involvement into the supervisor's affiliate. And we're seeming to be that it seems to be the northwest part of Iowa is on the leader. And we're trying to get some of the leadership to come from other parts of the state. And so we've kind of brainstormed that, and I think we're going to be, at our next executive board meeting, reaching back to our district presidents and trying to get some input and help from them. And they're trying to revive the old district meetings. So, we'll see what happens there. And I do not, the only thing I've got this week is today, and then this afternoon, I probably might try to slip down a lot for retirement. Then the one for Thursday.
Last Wednesday, went over to Wesco, and we had an employee grievance over there, spent the morning over there, visiting with their legal counsel. And then on Saturday, showed the Mallard View to a prospective buyer. And then this week, all I have is the retirement for Dwayne Dice today, and then Mark's on Thursday.
All right, yeah, as Gene said, on Thursday, we showed Mallard View. And then I just want to go on another thing quick. We've gotten these sheets here for November, the end of the thing balance, and just two things stuck out. One is case management, which it had recently September was 35,000 in the hole, is now in the black. And he still owes that money but things are going good, and I appreciate him getting case management black. But the other thing is, I know about a year ago, when we talked about budget, one idea that was floated was using local option sales tax to finance mental health. And I just thought I'd do a little integrity check and see how these projections compare to what we actually have here. And the bottom line, after you take away what we've spent for mental health and what we've taken in for local option, is actually $200,000 in predicted. And the reason for that is it did not include, because I was doing this quite conservatively. I thought if it's going to be off, I want it to be on that side of the coin rather than to try to sell something that would never happen. Well, it does not include payments to loss from ICP, Maple River, and Mount Carmel, and they all have been making their payments. It's one thing. It predicted no change in local auction sales tax income, and has changed a little bit. It also, for the expense part on the mental health, $35 per capita, and that's gone down to $32.50. So this is something we'll look at again when we do our budget this year. The thing is, if anytime we use local option sales tax for some other thing, with the exception of a short-term loan that would get repaid, it will affect that. So otherwise, it's looking really good as far as that option, if that's still what we want to do, and we'll talk about that. We're not going to make a decision on that today. And that's, and the only other thing, in January, I think it's 3rd, they're having the employee luncheon and everything.
Six.
Second, yeah.
I just need, Cindy wanted a head count. Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
I
we'll
sent
count
out- She
four
sent
then.
out an email.
Yeah.
You go- Okay, I didn't know if y'all, okay.
I sent
All
that
right,
back.
all right, that's good. And then coming up this week, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, got a couple people over at Mallard View. Gene, you're welcome there. And then the two retirements, the Deast and the Beardmore Appreciation deal here.
There was also CADC meeting, Cody, was there, didn't they talk to the DOT? Or talk about DOT?
Which was there?
Yeah, they talked about it.
And that went very well, or?
Went, okay. I think the one.
And this was basically in regard to eliminating some of the smaller garages, right?
Well, yeah, they did not just jump into that very far.
Oh, they didn't?
Neither one of them wanted to jump into that very far. Brian and Mark talked about, and I think I pointed out to him, we wanted to make sure that that stayed a clean bill. I think because there's been a little talk that maybe they might try to attach a few things to it. To me, the pursuing of closing all DOT, like we just went through, should be attached to that, but that would turn into a legislative fight that most likely would take a session, if not 2 or 3, to pass. So I think they're gonna primarily, they're sticking right straight to a clean bill of just Clay and Carroll going on to the language. So that gives us the green light to jump into the driver's license as quickly as possible. And the CDL has kind of been pushed a little bit further back. That may be attacked by this legislative session, but I'm guessing probably not. They did not get into the closing. It was a question, and neither Brian nor Mark had much to say
On the maintenance buildings?
on the maintenance.
You know, and Mark, it's been enjoyable working with you. I've enjoyed it. We said we don't always agree with everything, but I enjoyed working with you.
Well, you've been particularly good to me, so I'll miss you.
Courtney, what else do we have for next week, our agenda? Do we have any committee reports?
Just let everybody know we have absentee ballots available for the school election for their,
Football stadium.
I might still kind of funny. Yeah, football stadium.
People can already start voting for that as of now.
Yeah. We'll have Chris Bulking gonna be here next Tuesday to do the swearing in of newly electeds. They'll do that right before the board meeting, so. Have a retirement. This feels weird calling it a retirement. What do you think?
I think it sounds heavenly.
Well, I shouldn't.
I
Because
refer
you're-
to it as appreciation.
Yeah, that's.
Appreciation is how I refer to it.
Yeah, 29th. Let's see here. Next Tuesday, we'll do a resolution for the county master matrix. We'll have all the normal.
The resolutions.
Yeah, and appointments and things like we do the first of the year. I think that's it. So, the agenda might look awful lengthy, but I think a lot of it's just.
Business.
Busy.
Have you got anybody for Margaret, or for Mrs. Thatcher? Replacement?
No, we need to find one for,
I'm working at that.
Do you have some names? I've got some names here I just thought about. but I-
Okay, well, I'll share those
And
with you
then
later.
I've got one I was gonna talk with on the board adjustments. I've got 2 names there, and I didn't do much this weekend because, but
Yeah, it's not a good time.
those are the 2. The only thing that one might be a little bit, be a bad deal with being involved in it.
Yeah.
those others on the board of judgment, other than Mary Thatcher, I've contacted, and they're all going to serve again.
And Katie said she would serve.
There's one that you were going to contact.
She said yes.
And the others I wasn't.
And I got my township trustees there are gonna do it.
Okay.
I almost thought they were gonna back out for a little bit.
All right. Any comments from those in attendance?
Yeah, I guess some loose ends. I didn't have the Region 12 sheet in front of me. He asked for 5,000, and that was for the matching grant funds.
That's for the housing trust
For
fund.
housing.
Right, and then the other, I guess, 27,000 odd of it is just for general running the show purposes, like.
We'll give you a copy of that.
Breakdown and all, I saw it was $2,000 more than last year.
Part of that's transit.
I've contacted a couple people, and they, one of them's turned me down, and one of them hasn't called yet. So, no, that's okay.
I got it right here.
Who's the second one here?
17,000 is membership fee,
Membership.
and then 9,900 is the public transit, and then 2,500 is local transit.
Yeah.